Hello everyone, it's Lindsay and I have another Tip Tuesday for you today. And today we're going to talk about stamping. And so I had a friend, Sandra, on Instagram give me a little tip for using this textured piece here, and then I just went kind of crazy and did some other things. So I'm going to show you some different fancy stamping techniques that you can do, specifically using this piece here. This is the stamp set from the Gratitude Documented Devotional Kit, the monthly kit from Illustrated Faith and Dayspring. And there's this little texture piece. A lot of people had questions like, how am I going to use that? What am I going to use that for? And so you can see here I used it in this stamping here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to do these fun little double stamping here, very similar to the graphics from the Gratitude Documented line. So I'm going to show you how we do that. And then these little acorns here, this is something that Sandra showed me. I don't have the papers from the Gratitude Documented line, but the papers have this little textured acorn on the paper. So I'm going to show you how to recreate that using the Gratitude Documented stamp set. This is a standalone stamp set. It does not come in the monthly kit, but it is a must-have in my book. I have used it again and again and again so far as I'm working through Gratitude Documented. So let's jump in and let me show you some different things here. Let's start with this big thankful piece here. So this is going to work best with images that have like thick lines or are very solid. Sorry. Like this piece here would work, the word thankful or so, and then I thought maybe it would work with the homespun alpha sets as well. That's something you can try out. And what you're going to do is, it's kind of seems crazy, but I'll show you here. So I'm going to load up the word thankful on a block. And then I'm also going to load the texture stamp up on a block as well. And so we're actually going to stamp onto here and then stamp this onto the page. Bear with me, I'll show you what we're going to do. So you want to use a pigment ink. A pigment ink takes longer to dry, so you need some time to kind of manipulate as you're stamping this before it dries. These are the Illustrated Faith pigment inks. These are no longer available. They came in kits last year, but you could use any pigment ink you like. Color Box has some great ones. I'll link them down below, or possibly would work with some chalk inks. May also work with like the Distress Oxides, since they stay pretty wet. That's going to bleed through the page though. Pigment inks do not bleed through. Okay, so I'm inking up this graphic texture here, and I want to make sure I get it good and juicy because I'm essentially working with a second generation stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over, and I'm actually going to stamp it right onto the word thankful stamp. You want to be careful because it is kind of slippery. I'm going to ink that up again to get the second half here. Again, stamping on that stamp facing up. So now I have a little bit of ink on that stamp. I'm going to flip this over and stamp this down. And that is how I get that textured word thankful. Once I go back in with a black pen and outline, really give it some definition, and you can see this really fun textured lettering. I think this would be great with the homespun alphas. You could do something similar, or any solid stamps. You could get a shaped image with that graphic design. So let me go ahead and just wipe some of this down, and we'll move along here. Next up, I'll show you the little acorn, since it's kind of similar, but works a little backwards, so I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm going to take the solid acorn and this textured oval here. Same thing, I'm going to load it up. I've got the textured oval here. My stamp's kind of dirty. And then my solid acorn here. And now, instead of taking the texture to here, I found it's a little better if I take the solid to the texture. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, what the difference is. So I'm inking up my solid acorn. I'm going to stamp that down on the texture. Again, being careful because it's slippery. Flip this over, and then I can stamp that down. And then I get that texture. I'll show you what it looks like if you do it the other way. Clean my stamp. So if I ink this up, the texture, stamp it on my acorn carefully, and then stamp down, it's darker and you don't get as much texture. I think it's just going to depend on what look you're going for. You can kind of experiment with which way works best for you. If you can see that, you get just a little more texture if you go acorn to the texture and then stamp the texture as opposed to the other way around. If you need to look at that again, make sure you pause and rewind the video and take a look at how I did that. I'm going to clean that off. And then you can just go in with the outline piece of the acorn and ink that up and then stamp that over. And so that's how you get these really fun textured acorn pieces, very similar to the paper in the documented or the gratitude documented line. Okay, moving right along. Let's do those little oval pieces. They look complicated, but they're actually very, very easy. Put these back down. Okay, so for this one, I need the, I guess you could do it with the texture or the solid, but I'm going to use the solid oval. The solid oval. And then the textured leaves. So we'll do this one. Now you can see on here, I've created some masks. What I did was I took the solid image, stamped it on a sticky note up at the top where the sticky is, fussy cut it out, and now I have this mask made out of the sticky note. So you'll need that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lay down your mask first, and then you're going to load up your solid oval, re-ink that up, stamp that down over the mask, and wherever the mask is, it's going to protect the paper underneath, so the paper is going to stay white. So I can pull up my mask, and you can see I'm saving these so I can use them again and again. I don't have to cut out new ones each time. And so now I've got this negative image there. So I can take the textured piece of the leaf and ink that up. And then I'm going to go slightly offset because that's how it is on the design. And then now I have that image that looks very similar to the pieces in the gratitude documented line. You see you have that negative piece and the outline just like that. So you can go through and do that with all the different leaf shapes. Super easy, super fun. Great way to make more use out of your stamps, especially as you're working through gratitude documented. You've got 30 days, you're running out of ideas, you're using the same old, same old. Here's some fun ways to kind of spice it up and add some interest to your entries. So if you have any questions about the techniques I showed today, be sure to leave those down in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you were inspired, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. I do have Tip Tuesdays every Tuesday, and then I have videos at least 3 times a week, if not more, so be sure to subscribe. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.